Computer. All right, I'm sure you heard that, right?
Yep. And the notification.
All right, cool. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, welcome, Phil. Thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. It's been a super long time since we've like actually talked, I think,
It
anyway,
has, yeah.
but
But I
probably since
appreciate
like
you
graduation.
reaching out and getting me on this. It's been a minute. So
Heck yeah. Yeah, man. It's great that you came on. I'm really excited about it. And Phil, we met at the gym at SCAD. That's pretty much like how we met. But we also, because SCAD's just a small world, had mutual friends. Dylan's a buddy of ours.
oh
So
yeah.
Dylan from episode one, if you haven't watched it, you totally should.
He's the
Um,
one that kicked it all off.
yeah, he really did though. Yeah, and he did such a good job. I was so proud of him. Um, but yeah, if you want to give people a little breakdown on who you are, your experience, whatever you want to share about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, like you mentioned, went to SCAD. I studied fashion marketing and management there, minored in fashion design. And I'm still involved a little bit in that world. Um, and what I'm currently doing and working on now is my own business. So I'm offering brand strategy services and art direction services to small, mid, or large size companies and brands that are trying to do anything that with their visual media, marketing, brand strategy, content strategy, anything like that. And I have an awesome team of freelancers that I use to involve inside of each and every single project, just depending upon the client's needs. So that's the basic breakdown of what I'm kind of working on and doing. And it's been an interesting journey to get there. And obviously, growing pains and stuff too with inside of a business, there's a lot more that you have to think about and do that you just don't notice or realize until you actually get to that point. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it totally makes sense. I mean, you're responsible for putting food on the table for yourself. I mean, that could
Yeah.
be said with any job, but like you have to be constantly searching for the next gig, or, I imagine at least. Um,
Yeah, it's turned itself into much more of a sales position more so than it has really like the creative aspect.
Sure.
'Cause I'm selling myself, but I'm also selling like other people's services and stuff too. I'm trying to
Yeah,
sell the team alongside of that. So if somebody's a website developer trying to rope them into a project, all right, well, what is this person's capabilities and what are the client's needs? Like, does the client really need this, or are is there some sort of like, you know, way that we can kind of jerry rig it together without having to go down that route too?
sure.
But I do like spreading the wealth, and I like getting people involved in projects because I only think that it makes it better. And especially if you have good communication, it's going to be a good project.
That's
Um,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, and also expanding your network is absolutely crucial. So,
Exactly. Yeah. And then the digital age, it's easy and yet hard to do that at the same time.
yeah.
So,
Um, could you provide an example of that? Because I
well,
completely know what you're talking about, but I could totally relate to that in ways. But yeah,
like I mean, it doesn't really matter what industry you're in. You can easily just go on LinkedIn, find somebody in there that's one or two connections away, and then immediately send them a note, and they can connect with you. But it's not really developing that personal connection that you might need in order to bring it to the next level with them. So like in my instance, like if I'm looking for uh, other brands or businesses to connect with, and I go on LinkedIn and I find the owner of a brand or I find the owner of a business, I can send them a LinkedIn request or a connection request. But it doesn't, even if I send them a message along with that, there's no personality behind that.
right.
So there's no handshake involved. There's no like, hey, yeah, my name's Phil. Like, this is kind of what I do. This is how I can help you out. Like, there's no elevator pitch moment. There's no like, there's even no like, having a coffee over it or having a beer over it, really, just like randomly meeting somebody. So I think for a large part, you lose out on a lot of that personality. So you have to do a lot more in terms of like backing up your own self with, hey, this is what I've done for other people. This is my background. This is, where I've been and these are the project I've worked on and this is the amount of money I've made other people. Like there's all that level that's involved that seemingly online is valued more, whereas the personal connection, being in person, is much more, I think, valuable. You're gonna have a lot more opportunities coming from those handshakes. Like you and I haven't talked in a while, but like through Dylan, Dylan was just like, "Hey, yo, you know Chris? Like, you should
Yeah.
hop on the podcast with him, man. He's doing this really cool thing." I'm like, "All right, let's do it. Like, any
Yeah.
way I can help Chris out, let's do it." So,
Appreciate it.
so it's like but like you and I connected in the past before too. So it's like we already kind of know each other. Like we already know that this is gonna be a fun conversation.
Yeah.
So it's those personal moments, um, cement yourself inside of other people in a much more magnified way than just sending a LinkedIn request or an email or a DM or even having a phone call.
Yes.
There's just something that personal connection is just going to go so many more lengths than any of those other methods would.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad that you said that because that's something that Joe and I talked about too, towards the end of ours. The importance of having that human element to it. And, anybody can write something up on LinkedIn, I think. And, it's important when you're advocating for your business that you can quantify the value that you can add to the company that you're pitching to. But, in terms of writing something out and stuff, there's plenty of resources online to help you uh, not necessarily embellish, but
Mhm.
really clean up the way that you're talking to somebody. And that's not to say that you can't provide those services, right? But um, if we're talking about an individual reaching out for like a position at a job or
Yeah.
something like that, right? It's really important to have that human element so you can actually see if there is that connection that you're talking about, right? And this is something I've talked about several times to where, I'll connect with somebody on LinkedIn, I'll shoot them a message, but, I'm just another drop in the bucket, really, on LinkedIn
Hmm.
when it comes to being an individual graphic designer. Uh, I'm sure that they're getting a lot of people messaging them and everything. So, yeah, what I'm getting at is in school, it was a lot easier
Oh
when
yeah.
employers were coming in and you're talking to them and you're establishing that connection. It's not that it was shooting fish in a barrel, I guess, but like you could like establish those connections,
Oh
shooting
yeah.
a
Very
barrel
easily.
it doesn't seem as authentic, but I mean,
Well, and that's uh,
passion, right?
yeah, and I feel the same way too. Like being able to like keep up conversations with those people. Like
Yeah.
I think also too, just from SCAD being SCAD and like kind of what we went through, which I think is true for any school. I don't think it's necessarily just true for um, the Savannah College of Art and Design having their classes and their structure and their methodology set up the way that it was, where you got a lot of exposure with a lot of different people your freshman year, and then by senior year you're really compartmentalized. But because of those relationships you established before, you were able to intermingle a lot.
Yeah.
And especially with where we were interacting, which was primarily gym, like there's a lot of overlap of different types of people from different backgrounds, from like animation and film to graphic design and advertising to the fashion kids,
Yeah.
to anybody in between, illustrators, artists, sculptors, like that's there. It really was a melting pot there, and I think that most college and universities are that. And so I think it's also just a matter of like leveraging your connections from those institutions. So for other people, like if you went to one school, just because somebody graduated 20 years ago from that same school, possibly even from that same program, doesn't like that's actually going to give you a leg up, I
Yeah.
think, because that person realizes where you've been, what you've gone through, they've been there before, and they're in the position that you're probably wanting to get into now.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of like, okay, well, inside of your connection bases, like how do you leverage that? How do you find those people? And it's just spending a little bit more time combing through all of that.
True.
But then like you said though too, with when it comes to writing it out and messaging and all of those additional stuff, there's so many different tools out there. Like everybody that I know pretty much since
How are
high
you
school
going?
using Grammarly and then
Oh,
AI.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah. I was
like,
assuming ChatGPT was gonna come into the picture, but
yeah, well, I mean, like you've got Claude AI, you've got ChatGPT, and I play around with a lot of these things. I find them to be very, very helpful. Um, and and I do have like there's a lot of people I know who are like, oh, doom and gloom, and there's people like me who are kind of like, no, I actually see the benefit in terms of using that, but I'm kind of a mixture between the two.
sure.
Like I see the bad aspects in terms of like, oh, we're going to militarize it. Like there's just automatically we're going to do that. You know, we've
Yep.
got China and us, and we're in an arms race against them to build that right now.
Yep.
Um, and but like in reality, if like the everyday day-to-day stuff that you just need help with, if you become very, very good at learning how to write your prompts, like based off of like what your experiences are and what you know, you can test concepts, you can write out plans that you just have to outline it. And it will do fill in the work and you still have to overview it, which is why like I always bring it back in and use Grammarly to help with some of that stuff too.
Sure.
Because you can clearly tell when something's written by an AI,
Yeah.
and you got to you got to make it sound like yourself still at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Um, but they're tools to be used to help elevate and increase the speed in which we work.
Sure.
Um, Elevate the basics. You still need to use your own brain. You still need to use your own talent to push yourself forward. But if you don't use AI, I think in this day and age, you're just going to get lost out in terms of speed.
Yeah.
The amount of people that use it, just like the application process in the job market stinks. Um, because you're basically it used to just be an algorithm that would just comb through it. And if you had a certain amount of keywords, you pretty much would get run through
Right.
and put through into the next level. Or if you knew somebody, then you get put in the next level. Well, whereas like now an AI is combing through it all, but then most people who are putting their applications out there are using AI. So it's AI versus AI on this resume and cover letter, and it's not necessarily going to work in like to anybody's benefit. I don't think it's going to work to the employer's benefit because I don't think the AIs are going to be selecting the best of the best qualities. They're
Right.
not looking for outliers, which is what companies want. Companies want people who are at the upper echelon of excellence, um, and can do their work well. Um, and in my experience with playing around with Claude, ChatGPT, um, gosh, even Midjourney and Photoshop AI and all this other stuff, all these random ones out there. AI is not necessarily creating the best of the best. It's a bell curve.
Yeah.
So there's like seems to be like three main feedback points for it. There's the input that you give into it, which it also keeps and controls for future information inputs. Then there's the information that other people have input into that AI. So ChatGPT is the big one of this, where it's like open source. So it's
Yeah.
not only any information you put out there, that's also now accessible by everybody. So if you're putting your email out there and your cell phone number and your social security number on there, I highly recommend not doing that.
Yeah.
That's still open source. Somebody can come through the code and find that.
Yeah.
Um, so there's your inputs, there's other people's inputs, and then there's the internet. But what it seems to do is that when you input it for a prompt, it creates a bell curve of information where it finds you the most average, like the best of average information at the top of that curve. So it's not finding the worst stuff, but it's also not finding those ones that are at the front of the wave that are the best stuff.
Sure.
Like these are the ones that truly work, that are truly awesome, that are truly amazing. And it doesn't matter if it's helping you with creative writing or concept development or helping you write a marketing plan or a content strategy plan. So that's where you have to take your own talent, your own knowledge, your own skill sets, and really input it into there and try and take whatever it spat out at you and reformat it for your own good too. So it speeds up, I think, the basics. But it really helps with a lot of like layouts and planning and stuff, but you still have to take your own knowledge and skill sets and put it behind it.
Interesting. So what you're saying is if you solely rely on AI, then get comfortable being mediocre.
Kind of. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Um, that's what it seems like to me at this stage. At this stage,
Okay.
um, and then in reality, it's a battle. Like if we bring it back to the resume situation, a battle of mediocre versus mediocre. My mediocre resume that's mediocrely written is going up against somebody else's mediocrely written, probably by the same program, resume, and then it's being read by another AI that's also averaging everything out.
Yeah.
So you're really averaging the average of the average. Um, and so that's where it's like, okay, well, like, how do I get my foot in the door? I still think it boils down to personal connections in the side of
Totally.
the job market and trying to find new work, trying to find new clients, doing anything like that is through a friend of a friend, like how many degrees away am I from somebody that I can get connected with?
Yeah.
Like, again, you and I haven't talked for a minute, but great example of this where it's like, Dylan was just like, hey, you should hop on Chris's show. He's like, you would
Yeah.
enjoy this. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
I talk.
Yeah, he was telling me. He's like Phil will be super enthusiastic about this. Like it's definitely the subject that we're circling around right now. So, yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah, I mean, AI, I don't think is going to take away like use it to accelerate your program.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just like this is just how my brain works.
No, you're good. You're good.
But you still need to leverage those connections. Like you still like use it to help you write your resume, lay it out, whatever. Maybe if you have a few sentences too long, help it shorten it. That might be helpful.
Yeah.
Um, but have it go through a couple different versions of that sentence or a couple different versions of that paragraph or the information on there, but you still need to make sure that it's your own written word. And then
Yes.
also, how can you find that 1 degree or 2 degrees of connection away from this person? And
Yeah.
then, hey, contact that 1 degree, even if it is on LinkedIn and you really haven't talked with them before. We're all on there for some reason and we all like making connections for some reason. And if it's not to brag, it's to be helpful.
Yeah.
So why don't you just reach out to that one person, take a shot in the sense of, hey, you and I connected a long time ago, um, over X, Y, and Z thing, either in person or just on LinkedIn. I see that your colleague, insert name here, um, is hiring for this position. Would love to be able to reach out with them, and I'd love to be able to talk with you further about being a character reference.
Sure.
Um,
That's
I-
great.
yeah, like keep it simple, basic, and it's hard to do that stretch, but um, I've been finding in my own journeys just for sales, like I've got to start doing a lot more of that, um, and just doing that type of outreach.
Yeah. Have you well, I have a couple questions for you. So, one of them, do you use premium, LinkedIn Premium?
I do.
Do you see any value to that?
Not I'm probably not maximalizing my use on it,
Yeah.
but not really. I see a lot more like insights in terms of like people viewing my account and from where,
Yeah.
which I think is like helpful for like getting. I think that's helpful for applying to or discussing certain things or emailing certain people, just seeing if they actually do look at you. It's
Yeah.
helpful for that,
Okay.
but
Yeah, because like I
no,
could track
there's
my
not a whole lot of benefits.
yeah, I can track who or like where people are geographically, who view my website and
Yeah.
everything, right? And so based on the jobs that I applied to, it kind of gives me a rough idea on whether or not somebody's viewed my website, right? Or my stuff. Um,
That
so
actually might get you a better reference of because I mean, if people are
yeah,
looking at your work, they're going to be clicking on the website. They're not going
right.
to be looking at LinkedIn. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. So I've just had a hard time justifying it, but I get it's honestly kind of 50-50 where I hear like, yeah, you should do it. or no? Like I
I,
zero
I'm
clue.
kind of a flip of the coin on it.
Okay. Yeah.
I had it for a while and then I got rid of it. And then I brought it back simply just because I wanted to see some more like analytical data of how it
Yeah.
works and stuff like that. Because I have it hooked up to my website and stuff too.
Cool.
So how much traffic am I actually like driving back to my website and to my services and people are, you know, contacting me through? Like that's more so why I have it. But like there are like I guess certain groups and rooms that you can kind of be in. I just don't maximize my use of those things, and I
Sure.
probably should. Like there's a couple ones like there's a like a leadership group that I'm a part of that you have to be a premium member to be a part of,
Oh,
and
okay.
um, which I think they kind of push on most people. But there's certain ones where I think their algorithm or the program tries and lines itself up with who you are and what you do, and tries to get you inside of those things. So I think having access to some of those rooms can be helpful.
Sure.
So I do spend quite a bit of time like um, commenting on there, posting on there, maybe at least posting, once twice a week on there. Typically some sort of insight blog that I'm writing about. Um, but then I spend some time on there just commenting,
Yeah.
and just doing anything that I can to kind of like boost my feed a little bit or boost
Yeah.
myself inside of other people's feeds. So I think if you're using it like that, where you're using it more of like a social media tool where you're trying to get in front of other people, that's important.
Yeah.
I think posting on LinkedIn is one of those great ways to get in front of those other professionals that need help or need services.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because when I first got onto LinkedIn and I started to see people posting like memes and stuff like that, my initial impression was like, great, like it's turning into Facebook, you know? But then
Mhm.
after a while, I was like, okay, well, this is actually how you get the engagement now. Like LinkedIn is shifting, right? Where before I would just use it as a tool to look for jobs or like reach out to connections and stuff like that.
Mhm.
After not getting anything for a while, or, I'd share work and I'd maybe get like two reactions, or it'd say I have like eight reactions and I'd look and I'd only have two. So things were just kind of like all over the place. But once I actually started like posting more, commenting more on things, like it does seem like I'm getting more visibility on
Yes.
my posts, which is kind of crazy. So like if you're not doing that yet and you're watching this, try it out.
100%. Yeah. Comment on people's posts and try and comment something helpful. Like if you do
Yeah.
like something and you're just like, oh, that's super cool, and you don't have anything helpful to respond with, like that's still fine and that still works for the
Yeah.
engagement. But like if you're looking at some sort of news article that somebody's posted on there, definitely comment with like a professional opinion.
Sure.
Um, I think promoting professionalism on LinkedIn is, I think, a great way of just getting extra exposure, especially for a post that is going viral and does have tens of thousands of likes or reactions to it. I think that it is important to add your professional opinion to those posts because somebody's going to look at it. Even
Yeah.
if it's only a handful of people, the more interaction that you have on that, um, the more you're gonna, the more reactions are going to come back to you,
Sure.
which I think is the important part, especially on that front. I adding on to that point though too, I also think that that when you're talking about it being Facebook, I was just like part of the reason I got off Facebook is everybody's way too political.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know if it's just this year or the climate that we're in, but everybody's incredibly political now on
Yeah, dude.
LinkedIn. And I highly recommend people to just be professional. Don't bring your
Please.
politics into LinkedIn. Just be professional. Um, we
It's a
all
time
have
and place.
politics.
Time and
Sorry.
place, dude.
Yeah, it's time and place, and it's supposed to be that professional platform and that professional app. So if you're focused on like if you want to post political content, I mean, I think Blue Sky and X and Threads are probably a good way to go. But like if you're trying to be professional, LinkedIn is probably not the place.
Yeah.
Um,
Unless there's actually it shows how you could improve B2B sales, right? No, I'm kidding. You see that though at the top, it's like, yeah, I went to the bathroom this morning and ran out of toilet paper. This is I learned about B2B sales.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that would kind of work. Yeah, scrolling through on the cam. Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
The
Well, yeah.
I can't say
Stay away
I
from
haven't done
political
that
stuff.
before, so
Yeah, yeah. But like it depends on the subject matter, right? Like,
yeah.
um,
Well, if you work in the political space and that's your job, that's one thing.
fair.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
I'm saying like if you're like me where I don't really care about politics and most of the
yeah,
stuff that I work on is the most political it gets is just like tariffs and taxes on importing and exporting goods.
yeah,
That's other than that, I don't talk politics. I
yeah.
don't have a need to. There's no need for me to be on there talking about that. I'd
Same.
rather focus on people's creative works and being helpful with some sort of brand strategy idea or analyzing a new campaign that, I don't know, Prada put out or Louis Vuitton put out,
Yes.
or right now Pitti Uomo's on. So paying attention to that and maybe talking about that a little bit. Um, so like things like inside of my realm and my space and my world of what I work in, like focusing on that more so than focusing on like, oh, these darn tariffs again kind of
Yeah,
situation. Um,
totally.
yeah.
So, speaking of, well, kind of shifting gears here, but I also want to take a moment to also acknowledge the fact that you won an award recently too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Design Rush. It was really cool. They had reached out to me in March talking about and actually like a fairly old project of mine.
Oh, okay.
But well, one that a couple guys actually from SCAD worked on, Jordan Tannenbaum, who's the photographer and videographer for that, did insane work. Um, uh, Danny Lotito, who did the
Oh,
yeah, he did all of the copywriting and the ad writing, and oh my gosh, Tyler Brewer. I could
oh
not. I was
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, he was the industrial design guy. I literally had his Instagram in my head. I could not remember his
Go ahead
name.
and plug it. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was incredible on helping me design the glass bottles and stuff like that for the fragrance and everything. And we built a whole campaign out, fleshed it out. Um, and Design Rush, like I've had it up on my site for a long time, and they had reached out to me and they were just like, "Hey, we saw this project. We'd love to be able to like talk about it, make a little article about it." And I was like, "Yeah, go ahead, by all means. Here's some assets. Here's the imagery. Here's the shout out of information to people." The team that worked on it was awesome. We had a lot of fun. We it was crunch time working on it. It was like a 10-week project. But it was a great it was really fun to work on because it was a fragrance that Brunello Cucinelli hadn't really thought of or gone to market with. They've done home fragrances before, but they hadn't done any that really was that entry place or entry point to the market that like Tom Ford is
Sure.
or that Louis Vuitton has, where okay, let's say you can't afford a $5,000 handbag or a $10,000 sweater, I'm just throwing numbers out there.
Yeah.
But if you can't afford those things, then what's the next best way? And fragrances are really, really cheap and accessible to people in comparison to those price points.
Okay.
So that was my thought process behind bringing a fragrance to market. And they have since have a few. And but they saw it, they loved it, and they put it up there, made a little post about it, and then they contacted me like 2 weeks later, and they were just like, "Hey, yeah, so you just won the June Best Design Award for luxury print design." And I was just like, "What?" I was like, "I didn't even know I was up for this thing. This is awesome." So it was just really out of the blue, which was really cool. And
Sick.
they were really kind, friendly, awesome to work with on any of it. And yeah, if you want to see it, go to designrush.com. It should still be up under the design awards section for the month of June.
Sick.
And if you want to check it out, it's on my website, philipkoch.com. That's Philip with two L's, Koch.com. Yeah, it's not spelled the way it's pronounced.
Yeah. I've always wondered that and I've never asked you. But okay, so that's cool.
Yeah,
That's good to know.
I get everything from Coach to Koch to the Koch brothers. Um,
Yeah.
sadly, I'm not related to them in terms of the monetary value, but
You'll be up there. It's only a matter of time. You're just getting started, man.
Working on it, working on
Yeah. Um,
it.
I'll go ahead and put the links to your stuff in the description and stuff as well.
Thank
So
you. Thank you. Yeah, I'll make sure to I can send them to you too. So
totally. Yeah, yeah. Once I become more tech savvy, I could be like, yeah, like link up here, or whatever.
yeah,
Uh,
insert link here. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So something I feel like we could talk about too is you've gone in the direction of doing your own business and everything, right? So, I'm curious how your experience with the job market has been, right? Because even though it's exceptionally tough right now, it's been like this for the past like several years, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Honestly, like I think COVID kind of killed the market.
yeah,
Uh,
it really did. And that's right when we got into it too.
yeah, which made it even more difficult too.
Yeah, right.
So like I mean we don't really have a whole ton of experience before that point. Like, I graduated 2020 literally when it all happened, and I had internships the year before in 2019 and doing freelancing all throughout college and stuff like that too, either with, other friends' projects or like small companies and things like that, as individual designers. Um, but my experiences like leading into COVID times was really like going through several different rounds of interviews, trying to get hired, talking with people at the Ralph Lauren, talking with people at, Brunello, talking with people at, had several different interviews lined up, and then all in one day it just kind of came crashing down. And honestly, since then it hasn't been the same. Um, I don't know if it's just because companies realize that they can operate on a lower overhead without having to have all of these different people because they have one or two people doing several different jobs. I know that my first job out of college, working for an accessory company in DC, was like that. I was doing the work of like three or four people. I was like basically producing all the different photo shoots and video shoots that we were doing. I was doing all the photo editing. My photographer, videographer was doing all the video editing, and that alone is a time suck, as I'm sure you've found out through this.
Yeah, it's
Um,
and I
like
do bare bones.
yeah, it's so like even creating like a 30-second clip of something, it just takes so much effort and energy to do. And so that's one of the things where I'm like excited about AI to come in is like help out with that process. So there's a couple of people I'm talking to about that. Shout out to click.ai, CLIK.ai. They just put their beta through, but they're working on this exact problem right now,
Interesting.
where people are trying to take long form content and shovel it down into those 60 to 90-second clips for social media, but you can also clean up that long form content to be a 45-minute video. So let's say you filmed 5 hours worth of content, but in reality, you need that rough cut down to an hour. That's exactly what they're focusing on doing.
Wow.
So shout out to Connor for that. Um, so that's another one of Dylan's buddies, actually. He'd be somebody really interesting to talk to.
Oh, cool. Okay, noted.
Um, so working on that beta right now, which is kind of fun, just like playing around with it.
Yeah.
But trying to get back to where,
So
oh
yeah,
yeah,
you
the
were
job market just,
yeah, taking on the role of multiple or
yeah, I think that's what it kind of fell into after COVID was just a lot of people doing a lot of different types of work, and their title's not really reflecting that inside of the corporations. Like my title definitely did not reflect what I did. Uh,
yeah. You know what's interesting too, from what I've heard, is like pay scale can be dependent upon the role that you have, like the title that you have, right? And I've
mhm.
actually seen this happen in workplaces where people higher ups will come up with job titles to
Yep.
sort of get around those pay scales as well. Like
Yeah.
titles that don't even really make sense. It's not like straight up creative director or art director or graphic designer. It'll be I couldn't even give you an example, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And they so well, I've seen it in both ways where like people at the executive level are creating names for themselves or for their buddies. And this is a tale as old as time where it's just, hey, I just want to throw some money at this guy, want to have him on board, even if he's only here for a couple board meeting kind of things. Um, so that's at the executive level, like making those false titles and those false or fake titles, I should say, not false, but fake. Um, those have been there and for a long time. I think, probably back to the Mad Men, days of the 1960s, 70s, and 80s of the whole ad era of that time period, even the 50s probably too. But like in this day and age, it's a way for, I think, companies to skirt around the fact that they want to pay people less.
Yeah.
So there's companies that I've talked to who are looking for, what they say is an art director, and then looking at like the actual like everything that needs to go into that job. And we're talking like full-blown creative director role. But like, the pay scale difference between that is massive. Like we're
Yeah.
talking anywhere between, like 40 to $100,000 difference.
Yeah.
So in terms of a salary point, much less, a contract point.
Sure.
Um, so that to me is just like, well, I've, done that sort of work before on any, art director work to creative director work. Um, and you have to be really wary of those titles, because when you are going into those positions, you need to be able to have some level, some semblance of freedom to say, is it, within a certain period of time, I need this title changed to this. And that's before you sign the contract, to work for them.
Sure.
Because you can automatically say, hey, based off of my experiences, this entire job description is not a reflection of that title. And you need to have the the will and the courage to say that too.
Was gonna say because there could be next, you know.
Well, there could be next, which you have to take the risk on too. But if you know that you're the right person for the job, it's one of those things where you can kind of like, is there a possibility of this title changing in the future to another one? Um, the other thing too, like the pay scale difference, like that's the primary one for me, where it's just like you want to get paid for what you're worth. You're not, you don't want to get paid just because of for the sake of getting paid. You want to get paid at a company that's willing to value you for your level of work that you're doing.
Mm, yeah.
And I've come up, again, been in those positions where I'm doing the job of three or four people, and my title just isn't that. And the pay scale I should have received should have been way higher.
Yeah.
But I did that because I wanted the experience, and I needed to get paid. I needed the money.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas like I'm now in a stage where I'm just like, I'm going to start just dictating this is how it's going to work. And that's part of the reason why I started going down that path of doing my own, of making my own company, is because I got tired of the wool trying to be pulled over my eyes in these experiences. And I kept putting my foot down and just being like, no, like I'm not going to be doing the work of five different people under this one title that's only going to pay me the work of one.
Yeah.
So being able to put your foot down, I think, is an extremely important thing to do. And I think companies that are willing to um, spread the wealth and spread the love, you're going to automatically see that in terms of people saying, if you can find other people that work there and they really truly enjoy working there, then and you get their a response from them that's good,
Yeah.
that's okay. That's a good place to go into and kind of move into. Do as much research as you can through your interview process on the type of company that this is,
Sure.
because you're going to go through three different or four different rounds of interviews before you get, sign any kind of contract or paperwork.
Yeah.
Negotiate to what you think is fair, I think is important too, especially in this day and age. I think there's a lot of people who are willing to do a lot more work for a lot less money
Yeah.
just because of it's the sake of money, which I understand. Um, but knowing your self-worth, I think, is really, really, really important. And so that's why I started just going out and trying to find contract jobs and trying to do freelancing gigs again, and then really kind of made this into my own company because I started to realize, well, if I want to work with people that I want to work with,
Yeah.
that are cool. They're a lot of fun. They get the job done well. They do it in a timely manner. They communicate efficiently and effectively. I want to rope those people into projects that I want to work on and do.
Yeah,
So if I've got to be the one that's got to go out and find that work, and even if I've got to do an extra large chunk of it, of like the strategy portion or the marketing portion, just to rope in one or two people on the freelance side, I have to build that into my costs for those particular clients and stuff too.
sure.
And so that's really the basics of my business is is exactly that. Is I'm going to go out and find work, and then depending on what the client's needs are, I'm going to rope in and bring in the people that are necessary for that position. And that's the stage that I'm at now still. But it's given me a lot more control over my time. It's given me a lot more control over the opportunities that I'm allowing myself and that are being brought on. Um, because there's people that I've talked with, and I've honestly said to them, I was just like, I just don't think I'm the right person for this job, but here's two or three other, companies that I highly recommend you to reach out to that might be able to help you out with this, simply because I knew that it was going to be difficult working with those people.
Sure.
Um, and then vice versa, where it's just there's that constant, like you get it to the end stage, and then suddenly it's the rug's ripped out from under you.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of ups and downs in it. The wins are great and the losses feel horrible,
Yeah.
but you just gotta, keep bearing and pushing through on it. And that's all I can do. But it's been a really fun journey, like roping in like Dylan on a project and roping in a few other friends that I've made over the years, copywriters, content strategists, social media marketers, um, website developers, like you name it, like roping in people that you've just meet over the years of just doing this, or even people from SCAD,
Yeah.
video editors, roping them into projects, as much as possible. And it's always a blast. It's always fun. So
Nice. So you find it
yeah,
rewarding more so than
I do. I think there's a lot more work that I wouldn't have realized. Um, so, you know, a lot more like admin work in the sense of just like there's a lot more stuff that you have to set up and do and kind of go through. And then a lot more like website work and things like that as well. So like, but I consider my work for my clients like the brand strategy, the art direction, the producing work. So I consider all of that work. The rest of this is just kind of like admin stuff that just has to get done. So
sure.
like I have to build in, a day or two to do that, or time. I have to build in time to do that. So it's either at the end of the day or it's typically in the mornings that I try and get a lot of that stuff done. Like,
Okay.
all right, what invoices have to get paid and sent out? Whose invoices am I receiving right now? Um, what's the cash flow looking like? Watching that bottom line. A lot of stuff that I've had to learn in a short period of time, that probably any business major knows like the back of their hand. Um, but putting it into practice has been a lot of, fun to do, and working on it has been really interesting because I like to learn.
Yeah.
So um, anything that I can learn, if I can learn one thing a day, I know it's been a good day. Even if it's frustrating as all hell,
Hmm.
if I can learn one thing a day.
I
It's
mean,
a
it's only building your arsenal, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But even if it's one small thing, like even if it's like a new way to or a new content format that I haven't thought of before, and I got to try out, or I don't know, like trying to utilize a new tool like CapCut. If it's something, I don't typically, use CapCut. So if it's something new on CapCut that I can use, or Adobe Photoshop, like they're coming out with some wild stuff with their AI right now in terms of just like editing out backgrounds and things like that. That's
right.
which is what I primarily use it for. I don't use it for any form of character creation.
Sure.
Um, I use it to just simplify my work as much as possible. And I've edited a lot of imagery over the years, so it's kind of cool how wild that tool's been to use. But like, if I can learn one thing, even if it's as simple as that, or even if it's something like I don't know, on QuickBooks or on one of these other or triple whale or something like that, then that's a good day. Even all of his frustrations involved, it's a good day.
Sure. Yeah.
So you got
Good.
to roll with the punches, and you just got to keep pushing through and know that you're doing good work and yeah, as long as my clients are happy, I'm a happy man.
Yeah.
So
Sounds about right. Yeah. So do you think like I'm curious about your thoughts on this. Do you think that companies, because I see a decent amount of, at least for the places that I had looked, contract jobs, right?
Mhm.
Do you think that companies are going to start leaning more towards outsourcing to freelancers and contractors rather than having in-house design teams?
That's a really good question. I think that's like actually a question based off of economics and based off of rather than based off of like that's the question based off of economics and times of the market, I think.
Mhm.
Um, I think traditionally, like if you watch like the economic marks, like obviously when the market's kind of tanking, so Nasdaq, SPY is a good indicator of this stuff. Uh, like if that's going downhill, the teams that are most often let go first are the creative teams. That just for some reason is has been the general rule of thumb since like the 1980s or 90s.
Well, it's
Um,
also the case with like educational environments as well, right? Like
mhm.
you look at like elementary school and stuff like that, like art classes will be the first ones to get their funding
Yeah.
cut, right? So
Yeah,
interesting.
it's which is kind of wild to me because like I think that, if companies are trying to trim the fat, there's a lot of other positions and stuff that are probably unnecessary that aren't really realized until the marketing team's gone. Um, because without marketing and without your assets, the sales guys have nothing to use to do
Right.
their sales.
Well, anybody can be
So
creative, right? Anybody can make the stuff that creatives make. Like,
sure.
so,
Sure, Chris. Yeah, anybody can be creative.
right? It's so easy.
It's really not. Like there's so many tools
No.
out there that you can use that can help you be creative, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're the best one for that job or that position.
Right.
Like I'm thinking of like if I'm rebranding a business, like I'm not gonna try and do the logo design myself. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna find somebody like you, or I'm gonna find somebody like Dylan who this is all you guys do
Yeah.
is just do creative concepting, creative branding work, and who specialize and are experts in it.
Yeah.
And who can think through every single different layer of the logo and take any input that anybody's ever said, um, and implement it for that particular project.
Yeah.
You need those people because even if it's not just branding guidelines and logo stuff, like you need somebody that's able to do that with a marketing funnel for advertising, like how to set it up on Google, how to set it up on Meta. You need somebody that knows how to edit that imagery and get it up and running for those different ads, and how to do all the different graphic design placements and things on it like that. All the different creative work that's involved with any of that stuff. Again, that's where it's like the sales guys need that creative team in order to be able to do their sales. Because if they're going to Atlanta to go to one of the showrooms and sell product, they're going to need that product to be designed and be there. But then they're also going to need flashy items or minimalistic items depending on the business that you're doing or business that you're in or running to pass around. Those business cards matter. Those um, pamphlets that you're using to showcase to people matter. The layout of the apps that you're using to be in those marketplaces matter. Um, and that's all got to boil down to some creative dude sitting down and actually being creative with it and playing around with the colors and looking at it through a creative lens. So I speak very, very highly of the creative teams and creative people that work on all of that stuff because they're to me, one of the most important assets to have inside of a business.
Right.
So when companies trim fat, it's a shame that I was almost going to say criminal. It's not really criminal, but it's a shame that they trim the fat with the creative teams first rather than trimming the fat elsewhere. And typically you can find a lot of things on the bottom line that are just like eating up your costs. Like, you know, time spent on like your advertising budget. If you're not looking at your return on ad spend and you're not tracking that, okay, well, what ads can we trim back now in order to, make sure that we're not losing out on this? Like there's so much that you can trim the fat on the advertising side or certain probably office equipment and work. But I mean, most people work from home these days. So what are some things that we can trim back that are like extra? So yeah, when companies are going through a tough time, like I think that it does open up the market to these companies trying to trim the fat and find freelancers that are cheaper. But in reality, you're actually going to be spending a lot more money over the short term trying to hire those freelancers.
Yeah.
Because somebody that you might, let's say you hire a graphic designer for 60K a year um, salary, right? Junior designer or whatever. Um, that person is going to do and work on probably several different projects throughout the course of the year or several different projects throughout the course of the quarter that are going to have a massive impact on your bottom line. Um, Whereas if you cut that person because you want to save that 60K plus whatever, um, then your expenses are actually going to go higher because now you have to hire them back as a freelancer. And
Yeah.
now instead of paying them with all their healthcare and their benefits and all that other stuff, that is honestly a write-off for the business. You're
Exactly.
now having to pay all of that stuff plus that 60K to that freelancer to
Yep.
do outside of it.
Right.
Um, so it can be cheaper if you're trying to be lean, but I think in this time that we're in right now, with just like the way that things are kind of shaking up, it can kind of go both ways. I think there's a lot of people who did just recently lose their positions in their jobs. Um, and I do think there is a lot more opportunity for creative contract work. Um, but I also think there's a lot more people just out in the market right now, just from the last couple of years
Yeah.
of stuff happening. Like I don't think it's just from this year. I think it's from last year and the year prior to that
Yeah.
that
Absolutely.
that people are still freelancing and doing all that stuff. And that, that's what got me on the market and stuff too, like just going down that freelancing route and kind of doing the same thing, but realizing that I was making, decent chunk of change from this that I
Yeah.
wasn't going to get paid salary wise, and realizing too that in a lot of these different positions there is a salary cap. So there is a point that you are going to hit that you probably just won't make more money than this.
Right.
So kind of realizing that too. And it's not the sense of like I'm trying to be greedy or anything like that. It's more so just because
But
it's not. It's
you
I
know
want to
your
be able to
value
provide.
though,
Yeah,
right?
but I want to be able to like provide for my family and I want to be able to provide opportunities for my friends and people that I want to work for. That's what's the more driving factor for me. But on the reality of that too, it was also just realizing that what I was doing, there was a cap. Like there was going to be a point that I was going to hit at some point in my career where it just wasn't going to move up above this level of pay.
Yep.
I could have moved over to an entirely different company, and that level of pay still probably would have been at the same point.
Right.
Um,
And you
so
also risk like going to another company and then the potential of layoffs too, if
yeah,
someone's
and
significant. But
I think in this day and age in this market because of COVID, I think the possibility of layoffs in any form of company, no matter how big or how small, is always going to happen.
yeah.
Um, Companies could be huge, massive, but because they will lay off people. There's no stability in terms of that market anymore.
Right.
And I think AI, I think a lot of people point to AI for changing that, and I don't think that that would be. I think that is a correct assumption in some positions and in doing some things. But I think it's actually given us, aka humans, the ability to adapt to that situation and leverage AI to make new opportunities.
Yeah.
So I think equally as opportunities are taken away, new opportunities form. So it's a
Yeah.
matter of paying attention to what those new areas of opportunity are. So like for me, rather than doing like taking time doing a concept sketch of what this layout of this photo shoot's going to be and what the end result might look like, I just go into Midjourney and create a bunch of prompts and prompt it to create, an image. And then I take that image and I bring it into Photoshop and then I play around with it a bit more. And it's all AI generated. And or maybe I have a reference image that I throw at it to use based off of that. But I've just proved my concept in about an hour.
Hmm.
Whereas before, if I wanted to sketch it out and like colorize it, that would be about, half a day.
Yeah,
So like the speed in which you work is just so much faster. So it's just leveraging even those small tasks to be able to do your job more efficiently or more
sure.
effectively that can actually bring you to the next level. Like showcasing, I think, to companies that, hey, I know how to use this and I know how to use it really, really well is going to be important for the future. The only issue is like um, I don't use ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT for most of my own work, but I don't use it for any of my clients' work that is sensitive
Sure.
because of the open sourcing.
Yep.
Uh, and if I'm playing around with a new AI, I have to know how open source they are too. So that's the only thing that would be like a massive kicker. Like there's companies that I think there are probably a number of companies that out there that do this, but I know for a fact that Berkshire Hathaway, like they tell their teams to not use AI, to not use ChatGPT
Sure.
specifically. I don't know if they use AI at all, but I know that they ask them to not use ChatGPT because it is open source. So if you take one of their plans or for like a
Yeah.
multi-million-dollar contract and you throw it up in ChatGPT, that can be found by somebody else who that is combing the back end of that for
Yeah.
information specifically regarding that.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So
Yeah.
it's you got to be safe with it. But again, I think it opens up new opportunities. How can I leverage, you know, uh, uh, this program Click? How can I leverage that to create short clips of this podcast that I can put out on the internet? I'm not the best editor, but combing through the footage is like half the battle.
Sure.
Like when I talk to my video editing friends, like half the time that they're spending on the project is combing through the footage and
Totally.
organizing.
Yeah.
And then the other half is just like and is actually executing on it. And then probably probably about a 10% of it is the actual exportation of those assets,
Right.
which takes time too. And
Yep.
that's a process that you can't speed up. So, how can these tools help us do our jobs more efficiently, more effectively? Um, and then how can we take that and utilize those new skill sets for other brands, companies, businesses, people? Um, So I think there's going to be a lot more new opportunities out there. I just, if somebody did lose their job just because of AI happening, well, okay, well then learn a new skill. There's plenty of like there's so many different people out on YouTube that are teaching things and so many different opportunities that you can go into. Like start what's something that you've been wanting to do or something that you
Right.
do in your free time that you're passionate about and learn more about that and leverage that passion into opportunity. So
Yeah. I completely agree with that. I hate to do this.
you
We'll
got to run.
have to wrap this one up, but I definitely want to have you back on to
Yeah.
continue. Like I feel like we could have more conversations and like this has been really constructive and productive, I think.
I'm basically a talking head at this point. I can
Yeah,
talk so
it's
much.
great, man. I love it. But I think you brought up some great points, and I do think it's important, to really take the time, if you can, to explore your passions, like you're
Yeah.
saying, yeah, and also like keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer, right? If you perceive
Yes.
AI to be like
Yeah.
your enemy or whatever, like learn how to use that tool. If you feel like it put you out of work, learn how to use it to your advantage, right?
Yep.
I guess.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually, that's a really good quote to use for that. I highly back that up. Like, why did AI if you got displaced because of AI, why did AI displace you?
yeah,
And figuring out, okay, well then what can you do leveraging AI,
exactly.
to to for another position or another job somewhere else?
Yes.
That's the way of keeping that enemy closer if you really want it to use. And it's not going to go away. I
No,
think that's something that people are like,
definitely not.
people are keep advocating for it. There's too much money behind it. There's too much government money behind it. There's too much, um, excuse me, there's too much like Chinese government behind it.
Yeah.
And theirs is state developed. Ours is primarily privately developed.
Yeah.
Um, so privately with government contracts. That's a whole other subtopic that we can go into.
Sure.
Um, but like it's not going to go away. There's too much money behind it for it to work, and whoever gets it to be militarized first is basically going to be the winner at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And you
it's,
totally
it's
want to
like
be
the
in on the ground level, right? Which we are at right now.
yeah.
So
So
we
now is
support.
the yeah. I mean, some people even now would say it's too late to learn,
Oh, yeah.
which
Okay.
I think is false.
Yeah.
Like, no, go out, learn it. Like, it's not too late to learn a new skill. It's never too late to learn a new skill. It's never too late to find another passion and lean into it. So, what are those things that you do outside of work that you enjoy doing that you're very talented in? How
Yes.
do you leverage that?
Yes. I love
That's I like talking with people. I'm a talking head. I can talk
it.
for days. Like that's something I should probably leverage more.
Yeah. Here's a start, man. I mean, good
Yeah,
work with it, bro.
this
Yeah,
is literally the
good
start. Yeah.
platform, dude. And we'll definitely, yeah, I'll definitely have to have you back on and we can continue that. So,
100%. Yeah.
um,
Anytime.
yeah, but I appreciate you coming on, dude. It's great to
Yeah.
talk to you as always.
Of course. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm excited to see where this goes
Oh
and
yeah.
excited to be on here and it's been really nice to just catch up with you and chat with you again. So,
Likewise, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
and
actually have
maybe
to do more of a conversation even outside of this.
exactly. Yeah, totally can. And get a reunion together, you know?
Yes. That
Got to
would be
get
so much
together.
fun.
A trip to Savannah would be sweet. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm only a couple hours away from there. I should probably head down there. I
That's
haven't seen
right.
Danny in
Yeah.
a minute. I got to go bother
Right
Lotito.
down. Yeah, probably should. All right. Well, I'll catch you later, man. We'll be in contact.
Yes.
Good luck with everything coming up.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I hope that you enjoy your long weekend. Happy Independence Day to the people in the US
Yes,
and freedom.
you got it. All right, bro.
All right.
Take it easy,
Catch you
man.
later.
Later.